I was wondering, should I start this discussion by sharing a video, or should I just jump in right into the thought process? I think all of us are fairly evolved in our understanding in this room, at least um, in the impact and scale with which new media and particularly social media has impacted our lives. It's not so much in terms of digitization of media. That has been almost a 20-year phenomenon across the world. So, before the Drudge report came out, which we talked about in the previous session, there was something called the Craigslist. And that was the Usenet groups, the RSS feeds, which if you were using the internet for information gathering in the early 90s, you would have looked at. What that was doing was giving you a stream of information which was coming from alternate channels. So you had traditional media, you had telephony, you had radio, you had print, you had TV, which was very large, and then you had this internet and the www.com kind of a world. What we saw then was the stream moved into documents. So suddenly you had a lot of documentation online. The new media, the current wave of new media that we're talking about currently is actually a complete revolution in its way for two big reasons. A, it is not powered by any particular source. There is a technology has enabled you to have the power of publishing right now, right here. It's no longer desktop publishing, it's push button in your hand publishing. So what does that mean? It means that thanks to all the apps that you have downloaded onto your iPhone, onto your BlackBerry, onto your very affordable Android phone, you can not only share information about what you're doing, what you're seeing, what you like and dislike, as well as react to popular opinion and pedagogy from traditional sources. So what that has done is it has actually put the power of publication into your hands. You then become the voice. You are the media. And when you start looking at it in this kind of manner, you realize that there is a second phenomenon which is popularly known as social networking, which is somehow or the other connected in with this. Now, social networking is fascinating for the simple reason that actually an invite-only kind of a networking phenomenon, i.e., you will call people into your social network because A, they are your friends, families, colleagues, share a couple of interests, your particular belief system, or somebody you actually admire or follow, right? So you then become an opinion leader in your social network. You are the media. Now, when you start looking at the world in this kind of a manner, and which is increasingly becoming true as we go through, we go back to that first thought that we started with, which is that message is the medium. Now, if the message is the medium, and there is no documentation of this, and we were hearing conversations of how difficult it is to find out what are hashtags, how difficult is it to figure out who's really influential, and how is it analytically possible to figure out who's an influencer and who's just a rabble rouser, you come to a reality which is today, which is taking making sense of the stream. So it's not just about a one-way traffic. It's not just about me sitting in a pulpit and sharing information. It is how you are taking that information forward, maybe attributing me sometimes with an @JB Bakshi or a hashtag on Pule Jawan. But in a number of occasions, not occasion, but if you want to attribute that to the formation of Wikipedia, that probably would be incorrect. But if you look at why Wiki and who is using Wiki, now in my business interest, I advise corporates in the space of social media and how to handle digital marketing and digital media. And it will fascinate you to know that a European venture bank, Dresdner Bank, has a corporate wiki which manages 80 of their divisions. Okay. Now, when you're saying, when you're talking wiki, and this is not WikiLeaks, which I don't consider to be wiki at all, uh, it means that you're putting the power of publishing in the hands of a completely unidentified mass of people. You are trusting a base level of intelligence on the other side, who, in a majority of cases, will not disrupt or will not hugely deter you from your basic goals. So, three key trends come out. And when you keep reading and when you keep seeing what is social media all about, what is new media all about, some people say it's technology, some people say it's this instant on, always on, ubiquitous connect. A lot of other people say it's about people. What is happening actually is you're seeing a completely different level of consciousness coming up. There are challenges, of course, challenges being a privacy. First thing is that the moment you're always on, the moment you're found on Foursquare or Twitter, you're geographically identifiable. You as a person, not just as a demographic. You as a human being, not just as a number. Which basically means that you do count. Now, is that technology which makes you count, or is it your identity which makes you count? And what does that mean for your privacy? What does that mean for your sense of what is it that I'm willing to share, what is it that I really do care about, and what is it that I want to keep to myself? Those are the places where the biggest debate in terms of technology are happening. Oftentimes you find technology is to blame, whereas it's probably to do with maturity of the person who's using the technology in terms of how to articulate it. So, for instance, if you're going to put a JU professor behind bars for lampooning chief minister on Facebook, the question here is that is Facebook actually social media? And if it is social media, then what is the business of thinking of it as public media? It is supposed to be by invite only. It is supposed to be among your friends. It is not supposed to be for public consumption. Now, this is where the huge inflection point comes in. When does social media become public media? Where is traditional media? And how far and how much into the stream is it in? That's where the real, debate is happening, where we are looking at. Because there is no further documentation. What is happening is it's conversations. It's like the Dastanego that we just witnessed. It is two people talking to each other on Twitter, and their conversations getting retweeted with hashtags or none. It is thousands of people talking together. And this kind of chatter is really difficult for humans who are used to thinking in a linear fashion to keep track of and make sense of. So this is actually a massive revolution which is happening. The good part about it is that while all of this is happening, new communities are being formed. And I was talking to Subramshu a few minutes back on how he's using social media and new media for bringing enlightenment into his projects. Osama and I are part of a foundation called READ. What we are doing with social media over there is we are working on creating social business models around learning in the rural space. So where does information which used to be guarded inside government departments, inside specific halls of excellence, what happens to that information when it gets spread across in conversations? Where does the benchmarking happen? We've heard about farmer suicides. That's what the mass media is talking about. But when you start getting into the conversations of farmers and figure out that it's not really about the economics, it's also about their traditional ways or the ways of life that they want to protect, suddenly you're reminded of the urban middle class. Okay, so where are the learnings? Suddenly you find that it's not so much in terms of what is technology allowing you to do, it is also hugely in terms of how are you using it. So the three media trends that we see happening, completely defining the face of this new dialogue, and these are conversations that people are having with each other. A is that you want to share with people you care for, care about. I work with brands like Pepsi and Nike and American Express, amongst many others. And one of the key things that they look for in that space is where does the chatter stop? Okay, where is the noise and where is the signal? And very clearly, it comes back to what is the message? Does your content have soul? Is it just another piece of pretty picture or another line, clever line, which is expecting to arouse interest? Or does it connect to your users, your community's real major interest. And how do you listen to that? How do you converse with that? Those are the things which people are looking at. The next piece is how mobile are you? Because at this point of time, and I was just talking to two friends in the audience who've just come back from Afghanistan, where contrastingly, Afghanistan today has a very, very advanced telecom network, which enables you to share information at the speed of nanoseconds on things which are happening there. How are people using that to learn or to share information amongst each other? And the third piece which comes out dramatically is how relevant are you to where you are. So it's not sitting in a ivory tower and making a plan for another part of the world. It is you have to be where the news is. You have to be where the action is. If you are not there, you don't have the credibility to comment on it. You can perhaps express an opinion, which could be an activist point of view or could be something that you deeply believe in, but you have to be intensely local, either in terms of your geographical presence or in terms of your interest, for you to be recognized. So we are seeing 3 or 4 roles which come out in terms of catalysis, which is happening in the world of the social media revolution, if you want to put it. First group are the influencers, the people who are actually known to be knowledgeable about a particular subject, for whom or from whom content gets the soul. The next bunch are people who we call co-creators, people who are building on that message to create some kind of a reality system. It could be a revenue system, it could be a business model, it could be a way of life, it could be a belief system. The third group is what we call evangelists, people who take this piece, so the original content with the business model or the way of life, and share it around. And if you start looking at the world of new media through this lens, you will find that this is very distinctly different from the way traditional media operates. Because traditional media, if you look at news and more distinctly the editorial or op-ed pieces, these are curated content. So news is something which the editorial desk decides is important for you. You, 40,000 other readers, 4 million other readers. Op-ed columns are written by people who are supposedly experts in their space. Editorials are written as an opinion piece on news. Now when you take that around and look at your Facebook page and see what you're sharing on your Facebook page, the kind of, and that's a news feed by the way, the kind of pictures that you share, the kind of updates that you give, and put the same logic, you find that it actually fails. Why? Because you're sharing stuff which influences you. So you admire somebody or a message that comes in which impacts you deeply, that's something you share. Something which you will attend, something which you will participate in is something you share or comment on. And then you come to a situation where you become an authority and your friends are sharing your stuff. And you have 110 comments and 200 likes on what you've shared. So that's where the way new media is actually constructing itself. It's far from over. At this point of time, we're looking at platforms like Facebook, we're looking at platforms like Twitter, we're looking at platforms like LinkedIn, Foursquare, Pinterest as mnemonics, or rather shorthand for this entire space where you are the message and you are the media. But tomorrow will be extremely different, because when you start looking at the world in this kind of a prism, all the traditional identities are going to be up for a huge question mark. Traditional identities in terms of nationality, regionalness, religion, belief systems, all of it. And it's going to start just with you, because it's your belief systems and the way you are experiencing the world which is making all this possible. So from our point of view, the way we look at this technology transition, which is what we call cloud power, is where is the stream? Okay, where is it? You'll probably see it as on your Twitter pages as hashtags or trends. India is following trends, Delhi is following what's trending across the world. That's actually a stream. And one of the projects that we are working on is seeing where is the stream of consciousness coming in. So is it just babble, or is there some amount of curation which is happening via the wisdom of the masses? And the jury is still out. We don't know for sure. But I have a huge belief that if you have a successful encyclopedia in the form of Wikipedia, the stream of consciousness is only going to get better than where we are currently.
So all this while we have been talking about how we can get this message to the top 10% who are using internet. So but what I observe is like I use Facebook and all, and so my friends. But we come across these news, but we just let it go. We just show sympathy to the people who are suffering, and we let it go. So if this news is circulated between to the bottom 90%, and they discuss that what is happening in Bihar, in one district something is happening in this village, this person is suffering. I mean, they can help each other. So how can this message also be translated to the bottom 90%?
Should I take it?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a mic there.
Okay. Okay. See, there's every statistic that you come across has an interpretation. Okay. While the internet, as explained on a desktop or a laptop, is less than 10%, what Shubhranshu is also saying is that 80% of the people that he's working with carries a mobile phone. Just go beyond just the classifications. What does this new technology allow you to do? Always on. The network knows where you are. It's geographical. Okay? And you can share. Now the whole point is there are these links which are missing. Your mobile phone, by the way, is an internet device. Every mobile phone is. Okay? It's just that the layers are coming on top. So you were talking about 2G, 2.5G, now you're hearing about 4G in Calcutta. These are all technologies. The evolution point, the tipping point of this is how you are going to use it. Okay? And it's not about, you mentioned a very, very interesting piece that, okay, is this for action in the top 10%? And what happens when the bottom 90% get to it? Let the bottom 90% get to it and you'll see. What actually you'll see happening is that people will collectivize around their own interests. Everybody, right down the line, wants a better life. Okay? It's not about trying to be, protect my social system. It is how do I get a better way to exist. The guy does not get his haircut in his village. He probably gets a better haircut in the city. Okay? So what does that actually do? He gets an aspiration to live a better life beyond the one he could have possibly had in his village. You're going to see huge changes of this kind. And I can't even start to give you a hint of what kind of change. People want jobs. There are industries which desperately are looking for qualified, talented people. India doesn't have people. There's this huge myth about India having loads and loads of employable people, and that doesn't. There are new industries which are being formed. There is an entire new category called the social media manager. I get calls 5 times a day saying that, hey, can you find us a social media manager? And there isn't any. Are there institutes coming up? Not yet. So when Shubhranshu's model scales, he's going to need journalists in every panchayat in the country. That's when the business model will come in, right? Because there is a massive scarcity of quality content. Please stop thinking of media as anything beyond content or conversations. It's not. If you've got the ability to produce great content, there are people who will chase you with the mega dollars. Okay? If you can create a platform for great content, like Instagram, you can be bought over in 18 months for $1 billion. So the business models are all changing dramatically.